And we're back with some Helldivers 2. And I wanted to try and share some of my sort of weird culture shock that I had playing this game. I'm more indie to mid-range games, and this game I think was meant to be mid-range but kind of ended up being more mainstream. And the bit that really weirded me out about it was the news and media surrounding it was just sort of bizarrely negative. Like, all the headlines were just clickbaity negativeness, and I'm just not used to that. It was a learning experience, let's just say. But before I can get into all of that, I will have to explain what the game is. And the game is PvE, player versus enemy. It's a 4-player co-op. You shoot a lot of things, and you're doing it friendly with other people. Usually you pick a location, you land down, but first you have to pick your loadout, and there is a lot of weapons and things to choose from. We'll cover those in a little bit more detail in a minute. But for now, you pop down to the planet and you go to do the missions. Missions will usually consist of going somewhere and blowing something up or pressing a bunch of buttons. And to help you, you have options. You can summon down big powerful weapons to help you out. You can summon down turrets that will fire at the enemies for you. Or you can throw down stuff and that will call in orbital bombardments from your ship. Either rail cannons or lasers or all sorts of interesting stuff. And there you can see the shells starting to fall out of the sky. Glorious.
Another triumph for managed democracy.
Then you also have the options to call in an airplane. There's this airplane that kind of follows you around. 1 second. This airplane follows you around and drops ordnance out of the sky, and there they go. The thing about them is you can rearm them at any time, and usually they have a number of charges. Anyway, as I was saying, you can at any point send that plane back to rearm, and you can have multiple options from that plane in your loadout, which can be interesting. Once you have completed all your primary objectives, this thing drops out of the sky, and you can call in an extract. Then what will happen is, depending on map modifiers and a bunch of stuff, usually after 2 to 3 minutes, a ship will show up and extract you. However, here's the thing. That's not entirely necessary. Once you've completed all the missions, whether you die or not, the mission is completed successfully. Up there in the top left, you can see that we have 4 lives left. That's just an indicator of, well, how many extra additional Helldivers you have. Technically, they're different Helldivers every time that come down. You're basically expendable munitions to get the job done. As you can see, we successfully managed to complete the mission and get all our bonuses, even though we left most of our limbs and our torso behind on the planet. The game doesn't care. I am aware the basics of the game are not the most exciting thing to learn about, but they are kind of essential. Now, down here is your Patriotic Administration Center. This is where you gain access to all of your nice weapons like autocannons, flamethrowers, all of your orbital call-downs, your eagles, your jump packs, and all of your gun emplacements and such things. Now, all of these are paid for with requisition, which is only earnable by just doing missions. You don't even have to win the missions or successfully extract. Just doing the missions and completing a few objectives will earn you this requisition, which means you unlock all of these. In other words, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at the game, you have to get this by playing the game. The next thing we have is ship modules. This allows you to upgrade all of your orbital bombardment and orbital call-ins, all of those things, and they're all upgraded with these samples. These samples are only obtainable by doing missions, and then actually successfully extracting while holding the samples. If one of the people dies on the mission and doesn't make it out in the extraction vehicle, then any samples they carried are lost, unless you pick them up off their corpse, which can happen. So this stuff here, all of this can only be unlocked by playing the game. Doesn't matter how much money you throw at it, you gotta play the game to unlock all of these. Thank you for bearing with us through the drier parts of this. Let's get on to the more exciting parts like the autocannon. And the reason we want to go through the autocannon is it's excellent to compare and contrast this with one other weapon, and this thing can take care of a lot of stuff when it comes to the bots. And we've picked this specifically as it plays off against another gun. But that's that big box there on the back, that's all the ammo for it. And as you'll see, it's got a whole bunch of clips in there. You can tell they're clips because they come out of these strips and you have to like slide them into the gun, but you want to refer to them always as magazines. This drives gun nut people absolutely crazy. Call a mag a clip or a clip a mag and they just, I don't know, it causes them to have nosebleeds or something. So from now on, I will always be referring to the things in those backpacks as clips. Getting distracted. So, autocannon has wonderful uses. Right here we can use it to take out the tank tracks on this tank. That immobilizes it, because we can't penetrate the frontal armor of the tank. But we can shoot at the tracks and immobilize it. Then what we can do is nip around the back of it and shoot it in the rear. And if we shoot it in the rear where the armor plating is weakest, we can actually kill it. And that's one of the joys of this gun, is it can kill pretty much everything the automatons have. There's a heatsink on the back of the tank that you can also shoot and kill it in about 3 shots, though shooting that from the front could be a bit tricky. I mean, I've seen instances where it's been done, it's just those situations don't arise too much. Or if it's aiming at someone else, you can shoot it in the back. But the main thing we want to cover here is hooks, specifically the flamer hooks. These things will charge at you, and the best way to kill them is to shoot them in the eye hole. The problem is the eye hole is tiny and really hard to hit. However, if you can toss a stun grenade at them, it stops them moving, and you can fire 2 shots right through their eye hole while they're stunned and kill them. Really nice, easy way to do things. The last thing we need to cover is the autocannon can actually destroy fabricators and bug holes, because it's an explosive round. This is going to become very important in a minute. This here is the AMR, the anti-material rifle, otherwise referred to as the FMAR, as in the filthy anti-material rifle, because it's just not as good as the autocannon. One of the problems it has, can't blow up fabricators, so you need something to do that, so you need to bring yourself a grenade pistol. Oh look, that guy's missing an arm. 1 second. And then using the grenade pistol, you can crack open automaton fabricators or bug nests, whichever you would prefer. However, this leads us on to the next part of the problem. Up until this point, we have only covered the support weapon you drop down, and all of the droppables and airstrikes and such like. We haven't covered your primary weapon, your pistol, or your grenades, or your armor for that matter. The thing is, you can select your weaponry in here, or you can select on the loadout screen. So for example, just say we'd like to bring the Plas Scorcher instead of the Jar 5 Dominator, we can select it in here. Same with the pistols, we can switch over to, say, the Senator for a little bit more stopping power as opposed to the grenade pistol. That brings us all the way to the acquisitions page. Now, in here you get yourselves what's called a war bond. Basically, it's a thing where you can go in and buy new weapons. But you buy them using medals, and the medals come from, well, just 2 missions. You can only get medals by playing the game. That's the only way to get them. And this war bond is available right at the start. You get it just for basically buying the game, and that's what gives you access to some pistols, some extra rifles. You'll have some stuff you start with, but this is a whole bunch of new stuff. And there is 10 pages of this? Like, there's a lot. There's a lot of guns in here and ammo and different things you get access to. Oh, and a bunch of these boosters, but we're not really going to get into those. Then you've got your Steeled Veterans Warbond. This is only available to the premium members. You know, the people who buy the extra bells and whistles editions into the game. If you don't have that, you will have to pay super credits. However, in here you will find the Jar 5 Dominator, which I'm quite fond of. The problem is it's kind of, you have to spend a whole bunch of Warbond medals to get it as well. But super credits, where do you get those? Well, 2 ways. One, or actually 3 ways. One, you can just buy them for a tenner. I haven't done that yet, but you totally can. 2, you, in your primary Warbond here, you actually have the option to buy super credits, spending medals to turn them into super credits. You're going to do that in the end anyway. This will get you 600. If you buy all of the super credits that are in here, you'll get 600 of them. Which means you can also pick up some when you're running around the map. There are these container crates you can break into and they will contain super credits. And just in the process of unlocking this Warbond, everyone, it seems, has pretty much made enough money to, well, buy the Steel Veterans, and usually the cutting edge one as well. Depends on the person. So long as you're hitting up a few extra sites every game, you'll probably get there. So let's check something here. Stun grenades are locked inside this Warbond, which means if I want to use my favorite autocannon loadout, I will need to have access to this Warbond. I'll also need to have access to the Steel Veterans for the Jar 5 Dominator, and as long as I have those 2, then I can run my favorite autocannon loadout. However, if you want to run the AMR loadout, the one that comes with the grenade pistol so that you can crack open those spawners of various sorts, then you're going to need this, which means you need 3 Warbonds to run that loadout. And that's sort of the hook of these. Some of the things in here are stuff you will probably want to use. Except this Warbond. I've never found anything useful in here. Supposedly the tenderizer has been made a lot better, but no, I'm good. So before I go into the scandals, yeah, I'm doing air quotes, but you can't actually see my hands. But yeah, just imagine me doing air quotes as I say scandals. I would like to explain how some of this works out in practice. If you play this game too much, as in you say put in, I'm going to say 15 hours a week, which is quite a lot. If you've got say kids or, you know, a full-time job and stuff like that, that's pretty excessive. By the time you hit about level, I want to say about 80, you will have made enough credits to buy all the Warbonds, and you will have made enough medals to buy literally everything. Like, everything. Without having spent a single penny. And also you maybe have picked up, well, 1 or 2 armor sets here and there. So obviously, people who are a little bit gamer excessive are not the target audience here. Anyone who's hit level 90 or 80 or 90, they haven't spent a penny on this game unless they wanted to support it. However, if you're, say, around level 30 or 40, then you might have actually shelled out money to buy some of these war bonds, assuming you wanted some of the things in them, because there's usually one good thing in them that you always want. So let me try and explain how this makes absolutely no sense to me. If you are a hardcore player, the type of player who's going to spend way too many hours playing this game, you will never ever need to pay any money for it, because you're playing too much, you're going to make enough credits from doing all the missions. However, let's just say you're a total noob. You barely play this game at all, you're brand new to the game. Why would you buy any of the war bonds? You're still going to need to make a bunch of medals to unlock all the stuff in them, which means there's no point buying them. If you bought access to all of the war bonds straight away, you'll just have to spread out medals amongst all of them, and you won't even be able to unlock all the content you want, which kind of makes it pointless. So maybe you're slightly above that, and you're like level 20-ish? Then maybe you do want to crack open one or two things for a special build, or maybe you're like, you're up around the level 50s or something, and you want to crack open the next war bond as well because it's got something really juicy in it you want right now and you can't wait. So realistically, the only people who are going to buy are the people who are sort of middle of the road, whereas the hardcore people will get it all for free, and the new people, no incentive to buy anything. Is that the model they're going with? That does not seem, well, very good. That seems like it would not generate huge quantities of money, but, I'm not in business. And now the weirdness of playing this game. Suddenly my newsfeed was filled up with Helldivers 2 stuff, and it was all negative. It was amazingly negative. Well, the titles were. There's a lot of stuff here about, is Helldivers 2 pay to win? And then you go along and it's like, Helldivers 2 new premium warbond is live, and players are explaining why it's not pay to win again. No one was explaining anything. No one cared. As far as I can tell, this was just stuff they're basically making it up to drive clicks. Helldivers 2 players are kicking teammates who don't have meta loadouts. This one is hilarious. This one is absolutely hilarious because if you go back to their source, it's actually one post on the Helldivers 2 Steam forum is gaining attention for declaring, and then the link is actually not to the Steam forum, it's actually to Reddit, where a Reddit guy was posting, hey, look at this muppet in the Steam forum saying this. And the number one post below it is, hey, drop a 500 kg bomb on that guy. Yep, drop more 500 kgs. Still more, a lot of 500 kg bombs. And then he's being accused of being a bug. So I'm just going to say, no, there might be a few people who were doing that, but the vast, vast majority of the community just assumed he was a moron. Here's a nice, fun title. Helldivers 2 anti-cheat is unintentionally hindering disabled gamers. Yet it turns out the anti-cheat, it has problems with some software, and the devs are like, oh, cool, we'll try fix that. And down at the bottom here, they will explain that, yes, the devs are actually looking into it, but the titles, come on. Oh, this one's my favorite. Helldivers 2 Cape stirs team-killing controversy. And here it is again from Dextro. So it's Gamer Rant, Dextro, and IGN. Yet no one cared about this. I tried to hunt down the source for this from these news sites, and yeah, I'm using air quotes for them because they're Muppets. There's no source to this. They just said social media accounts. I don't know if it was Twitter or something, or they got knocked out. No one really cares. This here was the only real sort of scandal. You originally were supposed to have a PSN account to play Helldivers 2 at all. But Helldivers 2 did so well and the servers got so overloaded, they turned off that functionality. And then when they tried to turn it back on, they realized they'd sold it to a bunch of people in different countries where you can't get PSN accounts. Little bit awkward. There was a big blowback from the community, and they eventually reversed it for now, but this isn't over. If you look at the map, most of the countries involved, I think the companies their PSN itself were like, yeah, there's not enough money in these countries, or it's politically whatever. At some point, this will come back into effect. When they can slip it below the radar, I'd say, is their plan. I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but companies are they're going to be companies. You see, Outrage drives clicks. It's amazing. It's a bit like horror movies. People watch horror movies to get scared, and some people like news headlines to make them outraged. But not just regular outrage. Regular outrage is good, but if you want that truly delicious stuff, you want righteous outrage. Righteous outrage is that stuff where there is no question about it. You are 100% justified in your outrage. That stuff is absolutely delicious. I remember a long time ago watching a video on the Jimquisition. They did a lot of negative stories about the gaming industry and all the horrific stuff going on there. Jim was complaining. I get comments from people going, why you gotta complain all the time? And then they pointed out, well, the moment you make a good video that's happy, no one bloody watches it. That's because people like the outrage. They want to be outraged. So, I suppose the reason all those news headlines are ending up that way is because like to click on them, or they're the ones that stick with us. And it's not just the gaming industry, of course, there's all sorts of media that does it. I've been trying to cut outrage stuff out of my life for years now, and I just had kind of forgotten that it can happen in games media as well. Somehow that just sort of just slipped from my brain. Like Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever it was. Was that a good game or not? I have no idea, but the media coverage made me believe that thing was released as an absolute horrendous nightmare that you would be better off gouging out your eyeballs than playing. But I don't know if that's true or not now. And like, it might have been a good game with just some minor bugs, but I have no idea. And unless I had actually done a deep dive at the time and looked up their sources to see what they were quoting and checked out the posts, like, what's the point of the news if you have to actually do your own research after you read it to make sure the news is not lying to you? Okay. Enough of the darker side. Let's go to the fun parts of this game and how it's weirdly affected it. And the most fun part of this game is frantically trying to extract and not die, while hordes and hordes of enemies try and kill you and everyone with you and the whole area around you. That's the best part, that mad scramble where you barely get on board the ship. If there is no scramble, it's not nearly the same. You've got to have that tension there, that risk of failure. Unfortunately, that's kind of hurt them. Now, this is just a little bit of conjecture on my part, but I would have believed their original plan would be, statistically speaking, about only 60% of people would be successful on level 9 missions. So it would be quite hard to finish the mission successfully every time. And then they'd throw in some extra modifiers to make sure sometimes you just get a lot more enemies than normal and you'd fail. That way, those skin-of-your-teeth victories would feel just that much better. Because if there's no risk of loss, then there's not the same level of adrenaline. You know what I mean? However, humans are humans, and a lot of us don't like to lose. So, there's people out there who, when the difficulty gets tweaked, or things change a bit, or weapons get nerfed up or down, these people get a little bit annoyed. And, like, it's not completely unwarranted. They paid for a game of one way, and sometimes when it changes, they don't like it. And the devs are in this position where, imagine they're on a tightrope. And on the opposite end of the tightrope is a large pile of gold. To get across that tightrope, though, they have to balance the needs of players who want to, like, have an experience where they get to, play the hardest difficulties and win, and get that nice, glorious dopamine hit. And they also got to balance the needs of people who want their weapons to do certain things, and if they can just hit the balance right, all of that gold can be theirs. Not a bad situation to be in, but it doesn't leave them room to maybe pursue their original vision. Again, just my interpretation. The devs are listening to their player base, and they're trying to balance everything to keep the players there and keep everyone engaged and happy, and I don't think this is a perfect idea. No, I think they should listen to the fans. I just think they're implementing it slightly suboptimally, in my very uneducated opinion. The reason I say that is just some experiences I've had asking for comments on videos I make, or like gaming suggestions and things like that. And you usually get two broad suggestions. One is stuff that's already being done and people want to see more of, which usually means no one will watch it, on the grounds that there's someone out there who's doing it already, and they're probably better than you unless you've got some magic sauce that could make it better than the people who've already been doing it longer than you have. Which usually means no one watches it. And then there's the vocal minority who want content on, say, a game that's not hugely popular. Which means if you do make content on it, most of your other viewers are like, I don't know this game and I don't want to watch it, and you won't get views on it. And in that sort of vein, the people who are going to be most vocal about Helldivers are usually going to fall into those two broad camps. And you're missing out on the huge majority of people who just watch or play for fun. And the only way to get those people, I find, is just put up a poll. It's amazing the amount of people who will respond to a poll who won't make a comment. People don't want to make a comment, they don't want to get involved in that stuff. But if you put up a poll with just a radio button and say which of these you would prefer or something along those lines, you will get really good, accurate information. Whereas if you go with the comments, they can be good for suggestions, but it never comes close to the accuracy you'll get from a poll. So I think Helldivers 2 should just put a poll in with where your daily missions and all that stuff, or just put in a poll where they're like, do you think this weapon needs a nerf? Would you like the missions to be harder or easier? Would you like a new difficulty level increase? They can keep putting in polls to ask people stuff, and lots of people will respond. Helldivers 2 is one of those rare games I've played where it doesn't completely soak up all of my life. I've got a little bit of an addictive personality, so I can pick it up, play it for 40 minutes or an hour and a half even, and then just put it down and move on with my day and be a productive member of society. Also, the vast majority of the player base just seem to be in this for a bit of fun. None of them are high stress. None of them are all about, oh, we have to do this perfectly or anything. Nah, they're all like, just get on with it. Have some fun. You want to take a great loadout or a mediocre loadout? No one seems to really mind. In one mission, our job was destroy the automaton fabricators, a bunch of them. And once you've destroyed enough, you can successfully extract from the mission. And the thing is, I chucked down an artillery strike on the last area. I mean, we'd already got the numbers, but you want to be thorough. You want to exterminate every single last one of those automaton scum. And we missed one automaton spawner. It didn't matter. We could extract. We could leave. There was no reason to stay. But I was like, I went to my colleague. I said, no, you go for the ship. I'm going to go for the spawner. We don't need to, but I want to. And then I died. I got shot in the back. Yeah, I still had one stim on me. That was kind of embarrassing. It's just I was trying to get a different angle on the spawner so I could shoot it, and no, I died. But then I noticed something. My co-Helldiver, they had decided the same thing. They didn't want to leave unless we killed that last spawner. We wanted to send a message. What that message was didn't matter. All that mattered was freedom, democracy, and additional generic jingoistic expression. That's what we were there to do. So when it failed, when a tank got out of the way of their shot, they didn't leave. They didn't run for the extract. They emptied every single last grenade, stim, every bullet from their primary. They pulled out their pistol and emptied that too. And then when that failed, they died trying to pistol whip a Hulk to death. I'd never met this person before in my life, but they were a Helldiving brother, because that's what Helldivers do. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It just has to make sense to you and your team. It's not about winning or losing. It's how you play the game. And it has never been truer with any other game than this one.
I know our heroes would not have us mourn their loss, but rejoice in their victory.
So if it's not obvious, I kind of do enjoy playing Helldivers 2. It kind of reminds me a bit of Quake / Painkiller / Serious Sam, where it's a lot of just killing hordes of stuff and they just move on to the next area to kill hordes more stuff. But with the added bonus of having a bunch of randomers along, most of whom are on the same wavelength as you about how much fun this is all to do. However, despite this video only being about 20 minutes long, I've barely showed you any footage of Helldivers 2 going on. So I'm going to stick on 5 minutes of credits footage of just uninterrupted SOS call down at the very end of a mission when things are nice and hairy. I hope you enjoyed this rather weird video output from me, and good luck.
Calling in orbital strike.
Eat that!
Requesting air support. Reinforcing.
Calling in orbital strike!
Supplies. Reinforcing. Calling in
Orbital strike incoming.
Requesting air support!
reloading.
Extraction shuttle inbound.
New mag.
T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Requesting orbital.
Request approved. Deploying reinforcements. ETA T-minus 1 minute.
Requesting air support.
Attack underway. Eagle 1 rearming. Be back shortly.
ETA T-minus 30 seconds.
Reloading.
ETA T-minus 20 seconds.
Sending in an eagle.
ETA T-minus 10 seconds. Clear landing zone. Orbital strike.
Falcon 1 approaching pickup.
I'm hit. Wait, liberty, the blood.
Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent.